Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to the channel, and the channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. Another weekly recap, folks. I'm pleased to be here in my studio getting some fountain pen therapy, and hopefully I'll be able to share that therapy with you. Again, I got another exciting show for you. Lots of content as usual. We're getting things done. We're getting things done, and lots of stuff in front of me. I have to choose, but we got some paper, we got some ink, we got some pens, we got some writing instruments to talk about. We got some reviews to talk about. We got some market news to talk about. Lots of things on the menu. So without any further ado, Vincenzo and Fountain Pen Therapy present to you the weekly recap for March the 22nd, 2026. Okay, so for the first segment, let's take a look at market news, see what's out there. We'll start with the Chinese market. So we'll go to my computer, and we'll start there. Okay, here we go. First thing, take a look at this notebook, folks, or notebook cover. $19. It looks pretty good. I think I'm going to order one. At $19, it can't be all that bad in my view. It's an A5 for $20. If I read this correctly, this could be worthwhile. Anybody looking for a notebook, a leather, it looks like leather cover, and doesn't want to spend, they can go up to $70, $80, $90 sometimes. There you have it. That's one. Two, there's this Majon M2 Plus. Now, I've seen this before. This was a Moon Man offering way back when. I think all they've done is kind of repackaged it with the branding of Majon, but it's basically the same pen. I don't know why they call it Plus. Is there anything special about it? Maybe the nib could be a little different. It's difficult to tell. But if anybody's interested, there you have it. Then there's this DIEMAN'S pen. Frankly, I haven't seen this before. I'm not sure if this is like a refurbishment of an existing or like an old model, but it looks interesting. It's all metal. And, these days DIEMAN'S is not coming out with anything substantive, in my view. So I don't know. Let me know. Is this something we've seen before? Does it attract you in any way? It's a metal pen. It looks like it has a smaller nib, but could be considered. Next, do you have this Hero? I'm really attracted to this look, be it the gray or the blue, not the black, the gray or the blue. You can get it in extra fine, or the bent nib, or you can get it in a ballpoint. I don't like the bent curved nibs, but it's too bad they don't offer it in medium. But it's a pretty pen. So there you have it. What else have we got? Oh yeah, they're selling. I mean, a little expensive, but they're selling Yowo nibs that you can adapt to a custom Pilot Custom 774 or 743 pen. Now, I don't know why anybody would want to replace a 14 karat 743 Pilot nib with a Yowo nib. I mean, and pay $58 to boot. I'm not sure that that's in anybody's interest, but what I thought was interesting was they do sell these pens that can accommodate 743, 74, custom 74, 743. In my case, my 743, I replaced the nib with, and the nib section with the feed, with a ebonite feed and a FA nib. So I still have the original plastic 743 feed that I could certainly adapt to install on it this Yowo nib and then insert it in one of these beautiful pens. I've always wanted to get one of these pens, but I said to myself, I'm not going to take my custom Pilot and put my nibs in these pens because I don't know what kind of quality I'm getting. But I'm seriously considering getting now these pens. They're not $57, they're a little more expensive. I think the lowest is about $130. Nice, kind of a maquillé, mother of pearl, decorative. Some are more decorative than others. Something like this goes a little more expensive. But I can use the feed of the Pilot Custom, put that Yowo nib, and now I've got a really good-looking pen with a Yowo nib. It's an option. Throwing it out there as an option. What else have I got? That's it for that. Magna Carta has come out with the Magna Carta Steel Flex Nib right here. I don't think it's available on their site as yet. But there is a 650 that's available on Goldspot. Here it is. They call it the Pen and Liberty Pearl. I don't like this color. I really don't like this color, nor the resin, frankly. But it's $280. Is this Canadian or American? I'm not sure, because my site sometimes automatically. No, it's US. But you can get the steel flex nib as opposed to spending much more than that for the 14 karat nib. But we'll get back to that in a little while because there's 2 videos that are out, and maybe you could take a look at the videos to see if you're interested. That's that. What else have I got? Oh, Uniball Zento. The famous Zento signature roller balls that have come out in, I think they have it in silver, beige, or ivory, black. Now they come out with this, and sorry about the quality of the picture, but I just took the picture off a Reddit site. Stone brass looks absolutely gorgeous. Right now, Fudifan, one of the reviewers that I will mention later, is reviewing the pen. It's available in Japan. I don't know when it's going to get to the Western market, and if so, whether or not it's going to be immediately sold out. But I thought I'd mention that there's this limited edition from Uniball. So there you have it. That sums up for me anyway what I think is new in the market. Not much else. Look, you've got some Esterbrook pens that are out. You've got a brand new, what is an Echo in kind of a banana yellow, but it's the same pen. You've got an arrow, a Diplomat arrow in what looks like maybe a wooden barrel, but again with a very slippery section. But, it's a déjà vu, things we've seen already, nothing exciting. So there you have it. For the market news, stay tuned for my next segment. Be right back. Okay, so we're back with the next segment. And we got some paper, some ink to show you. Again, with regard to the paper, it's just another brand that I want to review, all in pursuit of the challenge that I set out to meet early in the year, which is to find, for me, the ultimate alternative to Tomoe River paper, the original Tomoe River paper, done or manufactured by that famous machine number 7. So we're on the quest. The quest continues. I have another couple of notebooks to show you from the same brand. We're going to do some, take a look at the notebook. We're going to do some swatching with some brand new inks that I have to propose for you that I just received from Van Diemen's. So without any further ado, we'll go to my overhead camera and show you the 2 notebooks. Okay, so we're back. So, segment, paper. Let's take a look at some paper. Well, I have an Italian paper brand to suggest for you. I think it's really nice. My previous experience with it has been very positive. How will it compare to Tomoe River in the challenge that we're doing? We'll see in a minute. Well, I have it in 2 formats. It's the FABRIANO paper that I'm sure some of you have heard of. This in particular one is an A5 sized. It's the dot grid. I don't love dot grid. I have a lot of these notebooks in dot grid. I thought that perhaps it's a good compromise between lined and just graph grids. But I find myself not following the dots very much, so it's not one of my favorite in terms of the formatting of the lines and etc. But having said that, it gives us an idea of how to deal with the paper. This particular A5 one is 90 GSM, so it's very thick paper. Look how nicely it opens up. The notebook is very, very nice. And it allows you to very simply tear it out, if you will. So that's not an issue at all either. That's the 90 GSM. Then you can buy it in this spiral version. This is just a kind of a basically a A4 size, and it has lined. And this is, I'm not mistaken, in 90. No, so this is 90 GSM. Is this 90 or 85? No. Okay, so this is 85 GSM, and this one is, this one is 90 GSM, and this one's 85. We'll work it on the A5 size because it's A5 that I use. Very rarely do I use A4 notebooks, but I did want to mention that you can get it in either formats, if you will. Covers are nice. They're cardboard, but almost plasticized on the outside. So they keep really nicely. Also, what's very nice about this A4 is that I think they have a line where you can cut out the page. Okay, so you can remove the page if you so wish. So there you have it. That's the paper for this week. Paper is kind of has some texture to it, so I expect to see that in my swatching and in my writing. But we'll take a look at all that in just a minute. We will come right back with the inks I have for you this week, and we'll do the swatching segment. Be right back. Okay, so we're back with the inks. Now, for those of you who joined me last week, you'll remember that I have purchased these 6 inks from Van Diemen's, one of my favorite ink makers from Australia. You'll find a 10% discount code in the description to my videos, so please feel free to use them. Last I checked, it still works. These are the 3 inks we did last week. We did Leonidas from the... what do they call it? Collection, the Greek Heroes collection. This is from the Night collection, which was the blue ringed octopus, kind of an ink that sheened red, The red was beautiful, by the way, the Leonidas. And this was Aurora Australis from the Underwater collection, and it kind of is a blue that shades or that sheens green. So those are, and we're going to revisit some of the pens with these inks because I find just beautiful, beautiful writers. The three inks we'll do this week are from the Wilderness collection. This is Spotted Sun Orchid, which appears to be kind of a purplish ink. This is from the Underwater collection. They call it Fire Coral. Appears to be on the reddish side. We shall see. And then we've got another blue, which is Royal Starfish, which again has kind of a blue with green sheen, but we shall see how it all unfolds on paper. So these are the three inks that we will be swatching this week. Let me put that aside. We're going to take my tools for the swatching and be right back. Okay, so we're back. This is Toma River. This is the Fabriano paper. By the way, the bottles, these are 40 milliliter bottles, just a gorgeous, gorgeous bottles. I like their shape. I like the fact that they're, thinner and longer. So, you can dip your pen in easily and not quickly run out of space. So we'll start out with this Spotted Sun Orchid. Okay. I use my folded pen to do the swatching as usual. Yeah, right away I can feel the texture on the Fabriano paper. Very, very obvious. And some of you like that, I think, eh? And some of you don't. So this is DIEMAN'S. Let me just catch the name again. Sorry about that. Let me just... Spotted Sun Orchid. Okay. So spotted. Yeah, you can definitely feel the texture, but it's nice in the sense that it does accept the ink, so it's not overly smooth paper where you can almost, like Clairefontaine or Rhodia, where you actually feel the surface kind of being slippery and coated. This is Fire Coral. That should be simple enough. Expect this to be on a reddish tint. Oh yes, very nice. Very, very nice. So let me just wash out the nib here. Whoa, I spilled that. Okay, there's a bit too much. I noticed that in these pen, for some reason, it absorbs a bit too much. Let me write on this side. DIEMAN'S. Fire Coral. Wow, what a nice red. I got to take care of that spot, folks, before I mess up my hands and my shirt. I'm trying to go over it here. Wow, what a nice red. My recollection of the red of last week was also very nice. So we'll compare maybe, and I'll show you how both of them kind of compare. It's hard to get nice red colors. So whenever I get a nice, deep, solid red, it's good news. Okay, the next one is Royal Starfish. None of these inks are shimmering inks, and I know Van Diemen's does beautiful shimmering inks. I just kind of stay away from shimmering. I just don't want to get in trouble with the shimmering particles in my pens, but I should do more of them. I know some of you said that I should. So I apologize to those viewers who would like to see more shimmering inks. They're not my favorite, so I kind of have a natural tendency to avoid them when I look at potential purchases. But I want to do some Ferris wheel. I know I purchased a few, and I know they have some very nice shimmering ink. So maybe we'll do that with Ferris wheel inks. I don't know what it is, but this dip pen is really, really getting on my nerves. Okay, Van Diemen's. Royal Starfish. Is it Starfish? Yes. So, wow. I can see almost a silverish gold sheen. Notice I have some. Now, let me just make sure that this is. Does it have shimmering in here? No, it doesn't. Wow. But the sheen is kind of almost shimmering. At least it's showing up on this Fabriano paper more than it is on the Toma River, which is surprising. So far, so good. I like this Fabriano paper in terms of how it performs or brings out these inks. We'll let it all dry up, and we'll be back, and we'll be right back and do a more detailed look at how these inks perform. Be right back. Okay, so we're back. I've removed the sheets so we can take a good look at how this pen, first of all, the Spotted Sun Orchid, fairly flat ink, I would say to you. There is some shading, but fairly straightforward purplish ink. The red Van Diemen's Fire Coral is almost like oxblood. So it's a dark red with some shading there and some kind of black-brown sheen, if you will. Very nice, deep coral color. And then the Royal Starfish, there you have it. It's kind of a royal blue purple with this green, almost gold sheen that appears there. So congratulations on Fabriano. I think the ink really expresses itself really nice on this paper. To my great surprise, I had forgotten how expressive that paper can be. You compare it to Toma River, you can see a little more shading, lighter version of the Spotted Sun Orchid. The red is, I think, very similar, although I think it's a little darker on the Fabriano. And you could see that green sheen on both, in fact. So that ink, I suspect, would be a lot of fun in a pen. We're going to try to get it into a pen and see how any of these, or maybe all of these inks write. So there you have it. In terms of what we see on the other side, Toma River, as usual, it crinkles the paper a little bit because when it's wet, some ghosting, but not much. Performs very well, actually. Usually I expect to see a lot more ghosting on Toma River paper. Let's see what this other side looks like. A little bit of see-through on the red there, penetration, but in terms of the written aspects, even it's 90 oh no, this is 85 GSM, so much thicker paper, okay? But still performs fairly well. There is no, I don't see any feathering on any of these three inks, even this wild Royal Starfish, which is good news. So paper is absolutely fountain pen friendly. So there you have it. We've compiled and swatched the inks. What we'll do now is go to the pen hall, and maybe we'll find some of these inks in some pen, and we'll see how they write. So we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back with the pen hall, which is the next segment. And you can see three sets of pens here that I want to show you. First of all, what I received this week. These are two ADMOCs, okay? This is the ADMOC 757, and this was the ADMOC 766. This I've reviewed already, and this essentially is a vacuum filler, and it is an imitation of the Asvine V126 or the Pilot 823, if you will. You can see down in my description, I will put in link for a video review where I, in fact, compare this to the V126. So that's the 766. ADMOC has also come out, and you'll see both pens kind of advertised together. One, of course, is the cigar-shaped, and the other's got kind of a pointy finial, flat but pointy finials. That's the difference. And this one is a piston filler, and it is a clone of the Asvine P20. Okay, it's got this beautiful galaxy barrel. And there you have it. Both are with ADMOC nibs. You can put in Schmidt nibs or maybe even Bach, but they're at a premium, and I don't think it's worth the premium between you and I. I would stick with the original ADMOC nibs, and from that you can switch them and replace almost with any number 6 size steel nib, I would say to you. Generally speaking, if you use the same feed, I think you could accommodate any nib in there. But I did want to test it in its original form with the ADMOC nib, and you'll see a review of this where I will do a challenge between this and the P20, if you will. So stay tuned for that. So that's one. Here you must be wondering, what is this? This is a Waterman Karen. This was my Waterman Karen and the only Karen I own. I did choose to buy it in this black and gold finish, which I think is the cheapest that you can find on the market. All the other, different variations cost a lot more. You can buy this on Amazon for approximately $300. I would say you're maybe even less, depending on the days and if it's on sale. But I think most of them come with a fine nib. And this was the fine nib that came with the pen originally. And I was completely discouraged, and I couldn't understand why people were raving about the Waterman Karen, and even comparing it to some other inlaid nib pens, grail pens such as the Edson from Waterman. I certainly was disappointed with the fine nib, so I did my best to replace that nib. And what we ended up doing is I figured out, after a viewer mentioned it to me, that you can actually replace just the nib section. And it comes in, the whole thing. So that's the fine I had. And this is the medium. So I replaced it, and that's it. You have your converter. And now I've got a Karen medium. And I can tell you, makes all the difference in my mind. And what I propose to do with this is that we're going to be doing a comparison. And let me pull out the other two pens. I've basically prepared a challenge between three of my favorite, and probably the three best inlaid nib pens that exist, or at least that I know of. It will be the Waterman Karen with the medium nib, the Schaefer Legacy. This is a Schaefer Legacy 2, so it's a vintage, not the modern one, with a fine nib, and of course my Waterman Edson, and I have a stub on that. So I've prepared a video where I do a challenge, between the three, and I declare a winner at the end. Do a detailed comparison of all three pens, especially the way they write. But one thing's for sure, I'm really glad I got the medium, and now I know that I can probably even venture out to broad and stub if ever I can find the Karen with that nibbage. I will certainly get it. So that's my second haul for the week. Third one is this. This is the Uniball Zento. I think this is the original format that he came in. You now have the Uniball Zento Signature, which are really expensive. People always sold out really quickly. This is in the silver finish, and in this matte silver finish, you get it in 0.38. In the black finish, you can get it with 0.5. And now they have a new one, and stay tuned for that, that has just come out. And as I mentioned in my market news, that third limited edition looks really nice, but good luck in trying to find it, first of all, available to us in the Western market, if it is available at all, and if it's going to be available, whether or not it's going to run out and it's going to be sold out quickly. But I did want to try out the original version of the Zento. So there you have it. It's a roller ball, I believe, and we'll do some writing with these pens in just a second. We'll set up and show you how these three pens, that is the Admach 757, the Karen Medium, and the Uniball Zento. Be right back. Okay, let's do some writing. Now, I'm not going to write with this Admach 757 because I want you to watch my video. But it does have an Admach nib, and as I mentioned, I think you can find replacements if you don't like that nib. Stay tuned. I'll let you know how that nib works. Probably a review that's going to go up either this week or maybe the following week. But I did want to show you how I modified the nib on this 766. After I reviewed it with its original Admach, look what I did. I replaced both the feed and the nib. The nib now has a Stipula steel number 6 stub, which is a 0.9, and I even replaced the feed with an ebonite feed to match that brown. I had some of these extra feeds in my inventory, so to speak. Forget where I bought it, but so you can see this. This is the Admach 766. Okay, and it's got the nib is a number 6 steel stipula, and it's a stub. Forget what the ink is. I think the ink is Leonardo Noce Moscata. Beautiful brown ink. But as you can see, this paper is not as textured as I originally made it out to be. It writes very, very nice. What I like about it, it does absorb the ink, so you get a thick line. What I don't like about some of these coated papers is that the line, it is very fine. You almost have the sense that the ink is not penetrating the paper. Here it does. And so, a thicker line like a stub actually does go down as a stub. Very nice, I would say to you, and fairly smooth at the end of the day. So the feedback is not as bad as I thought it would be. So I did want to show you how the paper reacted, but stay tuned for the pen review of that 757. This is the Quran. Now, I will do some writing with this medium, but because my video really is on the comparison with the others. So this is the Waterman. Quran. And it's the black. The nib is the 18 karat medium nib. What a difference, folks. The ink I forget, but it's an Iro Shizuko ink. I forget which blue it is. Very nice. Don't regret getting the medium. At all, folks. It takes a medium in this Quran. Can really appreciate how smooth it is. So there is the Quran. And then, of course, we have this, which is, we'll remove the tip. Now this is 0.5, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, and some of you made fun of me because I say 0.5. It's not 0.05, it's 0.5. Let's see how it writes. So, whoop, I see something on, I just see a little bit of the plastic tipping. Let me remove that. Okay. So this is the little slippery, but okay. Uniball Zento. I'm just going to say original because it's not the signature. I think it's referred to as the original model. It's got a 0.5 line. Too thin for me. Even the 0.5. Let me compare it to this one. Just seem to recall a better writing experience. Yeah, much better with the Zento signature. This is the Uniball Zento signature. I think I put a 0.05 in here. Yeah, I did. It's not the original 3.8. Well, still a little too fine for me, but writes really nicely. So there you have the pen haul for this week. Now, I did promise that I would get to you to show you some of those, how those new inks react on this paper. So we'll do that probably in the segment where I choose my weapons for next week. But we will clean this up and be back with the next segment. Now, before we proceed with the next segment, which is the Pens Revisited segment, I have just a couple of products that I want to show you that came into the studio that are not pens. First of all, you know that I've been referring you guys to Danica 58, which is a site that sells all kinds of notebooks and paper. And lately they had a sale going for Tomo River paper manufactured by the number 7 machine. And I gave you a shout out, and I think by the time a lot of you got to my recap, I understand a lot of you came back and commented that it had already been sold out. So I may have contributed to that selling out, and if you were lucky enough to be one of the first, and did look for those Tomo River notebooks, well, you're lucky. I got 4 of them. Here they are. Let me just show you. Here they are. They're supposedly 128 pages, but from what I understand is it's double sides counts for 128. So I believe there are only maybe 64 pages, but double side gives you 128. I purchased 4. They're quite thin, and I'm not used to using such thin notebooks, but we'll find a use for them for sure. Here they are, made in Japan, Tomo River, FP notebook. They are, it is the blank paper, which is okay, and I got to tell you folks, it really does feel like the original Tomo River. It doesn't feel like that Sanson or that number 9 paper. So I'm glad. I think they are truly, they are truly number 7 machine Tomo River paper. So that's good. That's a good sign. I'm sure we'll find some use for these notebooks, but I did want to show you what they looked like. And Danica at 58, you have to keep looking. Just don't give up. Keep looking at her site. I say her because I believe it's a she, but it may be, I don't know who's behind it. But Danica 58 has new products constantly, restock products constantly, so you got to look out for them. And if you visit their site regularly and you're lucky enough to put in an order, then you may be lucky the way I was. So here are the 4. The other thing is that I bought this. I'm always looking for soaps to clean my hands after I make a mess with inks. I've been using another soap until now. I bought this one. It's called the Masters Art and Craft Soap. Help condition hands as it cleans. It looks like it's very similar to the other soap that I have, but I wanted to try it to see if it's any more, if it performs any more better than the other one. It's supposed to deal with paints, ink, stains, dyes, clays, grime, grease, red clay, etc. So hopefully this will work. But I wanted to let you know that it's in the studio. We're going to be using it soon. And if it works out to be a good product, I will let you know. I'm going to keep the packaging just so that I can remember and show you if and when I have an opinion on this soap. But again, we're always looking out for stuff. If you have any suggestions for any cleaning products for the hands that can clean some of those nastier ink stains, let me know. It's always a good accessory to have, especially in our hobby. So there you have it. I wanted to just show you what else came in, and now we're ready for the next segment. Be right back. Okay, so we're back with some of the pens I'd like to revisit. As you know, in this channel, when we do reviews, we always like to come back to the pens that we've reviewed maybe a week or two, or maybe sometimes even later, just to see if they are keep writing or if they have any dry nib issues. I think it's important. I do want to present to you new products as quickly as they come out, so it gives you an idea of where I stand or where the product stands. But it's always nice to kind of revisit them a little further down the line, just to see whether they're performing as well as they did or as bad as they did when the review was published. So what we have, well, first of all, you saw my video. Hopefully you've seen it. If you haven't, please do. This week I published a video on the 4 pocket pens, the M1 from Ongdian, along with these 3 M2s, different versions. Of course, the original version, which were in fact in aluminum. They're still out, by the way. I think the aluminum versions you'll find on AliExpress. You won't find perhaps the brass and the titanium, or at least so I've been told. But if you look at the Amazon site, you'll be able to find these two. Now, they're hidden. In other words, if you click on one of the M2 and the Amazon, you'll have all the colors, and at the end, I think you'll have the bronze and the titanium. So if you don't, dive a little bit deeper into the ad, you may not see it. But having said that, there it is. One of the viewers, for the love of pens, one of the reviewers, I should say, that is a viewer of our channel, mentioned that he had reached out to Ongdian for a couple of things, and this little finial that you find on the M2 aluminum is kind of a cat figure there. So he confirmed that. As well, he also confirmed that Ongdian got back to them to say that the clip on the titanium is in fact titanium. I had some questions as to whether it was. The difference being that the titanium on the clip is kind of a brushed titanium, but it is titanium. Then some of the viewers got into whether, in fact, there is some question as to whether or not there's an inner sleeve in the titanium, and maybe even in the brass. It appears, at least to me, that there is a first step. You see that first step right there? There's no sleeve. It's all titanium up to that step. But then if you go further down, you'll see that there's a darker membrane of some sort. There may be actually a sleeve there, a plastic sleeve. I'm not sure. So the mystery's still out. But I'm not sure that it's any different, frankly, from the aluminum. But let's take a look at the aluminum. The aluminum appears to me, anyway, that I can't really say for sure whether or not there's a plastic sleeve that goes right to the top. Maybe it does. But all of that to say, there's some uncertainty. I know everybody kind of weighed in. I know that one of the viewers was also kind enough to go into the cap with a probe. But one thing's for sure, I don't have drawing issues with this pen. It does, if it doesn't have a plastic sleeve, it certainly screws in nice and tight. There is no openings here that I could see that would, there may be actually, I'm not even sure that is, pierced. But I don't have a drawing nib issue. In fact, we'll do some writing later, and we'll see whether or not it's confirmed. The other interesting thing is to kind of compare the Ongdian normal-sized pens that are brass and the titanium, and to see how that works out. They've quickly become some of my favorite pens. So if you enjoy these pocket pens, or especially this one, you might enjoy this titanium TI as well. Always been a good writer for me, and so has the brass. So we'll take a look at that as well. And we've got some other stuff to discuss here. So why don't we take a look at them one by one, and I'll have some comments as we go along. But I did want to address some of the viewer comments on the Ongdian pocket pens. So there you have it. So what we're going to do is we're going to get back to our FABRIANO notebook. So far, so good, folks. No complaints here. The only complaint I have is that I think the pages unglue and unstick quite easily. Look at this. I just turned it. I don't know if I did something to upset the whole system here, but it looks like they tear out fairly quickly. So the glue may not be as adherent as one would like. So I thought I'd mention that. But the paper itself is quite good. What we're going to do is we're going to just, here we go, so that we can do some of the writing. Okay, so let's revisit this one. I haven't played with this, nor have I written with it since my review. Let's just see if it seals, and it's supposed to because of that supposedly it has an inner sleeve. Well, let's just see if it does. So, and here again, it's not as slippery as the M1, but it's much. You need to get used to it. So, well, there you go. You see, there's a hard start there. That's the M2 in the aluminum finish. The nib is a number 5 fine. I don't think it's the same nib. Oh, it's a lemon nib. That's maybe explains why it's not writing properly. This one came with a lemon nib, and it does have that turned up a Waverly tip there. Okay, but there you go. Maybe I would have been better off with the original. Doesn't glide as much as I would like, actually. Usually lemon nibs are quite wet, but not that one. At least not after a week of use. Let's just see how this this brass one performs. Look at the difference. So anybody who doubts as to whether or not there's any inner sleeve that would impact on the drying or the seal, no worries here. The nib is a Hongdian number 5, and I would say that this is probably a medium. I forget what I said in my review, because I had analyzed the pen before I did yeah, it's a medium. And so after a week, it works just fine, folks. So far so good. We can revisit this a little later on, but my feeling is that there's no drying issues with this pen. This was my favorite before the titanium came out, and now I got to admit that this titanium is just a little bit lighter than the brass. There is no slip here, none whatsoever. There isn't any on the brass either. It's very acceptable. But some of you found that the brass one is a little bit too heavy. Well, in that case, I think this one is a really nice in-between, if you will. The nib, is this medium as well? Yes, it is. So it's an HD, it's an Hongdian number 5. And it is a medium. Just a beautiful writer. And you know what I discovered? Is that I also like writing with this pen this way. You got kind of perfect control over the pen. So the pen's not going anywhere. And I just realized that the other day when I just picked it up, and I kind of lost the cap somewhere on my desk, and I had to jot something quickly, and I realized, wow, it's different sensation, a different writing experience, but pleasant nonetheless, and you really, really control the pen. So sometimes we go for the big 149 or the big, number 8 size nibs, and yet sometimes you get the little gems like this that are just fabulous. And that brings me to the other gems, which is this one. But I really want to concentrate on the titanium one. I think the titanium one is much better than the brass. Wow, and talk about a nice writer. Look at this. I haven't written with this in a while either. I think it's the Black Forest series, but I think they call it the TI. Right on the Yeah, they call it T or T1, perhaps. The nib is a number 6 Ongdian. Is it a medium? Yes, it is. It's a medium. Just a beautiful writer. It's got some spring to it. I think it's one of their newer offerings. Very, very nice. So if you like titanium, I think that this pen, and I want to revisit it because I think it's kind of a perfect match to go with your pocket pen. Really, really nice. Recommended. Strongly, strongly. Let me just see if this they refer to as the 1861 Pro. The difference is that this is a snap-on, and I find that there's more drying problem on the snap-on than there is on that titanium, which is a screw mechanism. That is a number 6. This is a number 5. Let me just see if it writes. In the past, I've had issues. Well, there you go. There is some hesitation here. I think they call it the 1861 Pro brass. You can see that there is some lack of consistency. You got skipping here. I think because it's a snap-on, it may not seal as nicely as the other one, but still a very and it could also be the ink. I find that red inks kind of go crusty and dry on you quicker for some reason. But there you have it. That's the brass. Okay, so that's a review of the Ongdian. Let me deal with this page. There was a review published last week on this pen, or one of the versions of this pen. This is an Indian pen maker by the name of, or an Indian pen brand by the name of ASA, and this is the Galactic. I believe the name is found on the pen itself. Yeah, if you see it right there, ASA Galactic. It's a huge pen. Just to give you an idea, as compared to my, this is a big pen. This is the Asvine V800 that we'll take a look at in a second, and take a look at how much bigger it is. It's kind of a original shape. It's been in my drawer for a while because I've had some issues with this pen, and I'll explain in a second. There's the nib. It's a number 6 ASA nib. Let me just see if it writes. So, yeah, okay, it's writing. ASA Galactic. Whoop. Let me just... Galactic. It's a demonstrator. It's not one of those clear demo materials. This is fun part because this almost serves as a magnifying glass. It's done pretty well. The problem with this pen, I find, is in the nib. Not the nib itself, but the section. There's no nib section per se that screws into the hole. There's an ebonite feed and a nib that gets directly inserted in the space there, and then you eyedropper it, and it leaks, unfortunately. Now, it's either because, eyedroppers have a tendency to burp, and I try to fill it up as much as possible, but it's not ideal. You can see that it's starting to burp already, and this was I just laid it down gently. I didn't use it really all week. I inked it up for this recap, and that's it. It's a number 6 ASA fine nib. Now the nib is okay. It's not as smooth as I would like it, but it's a very fine line. It's an in-house nib, so it's always appreciated. If you like feedback, certainly this this pen will give it to you. But, it wasn't very expensive. I remember I think there's different models depending on, with different finials. Some are rounded off, some are more flat. The issue with this pen is I think you need to heat set the ebonite into that section of the pen barrel so that you minimize the leakage. And you also have to be able to live with the fact that if it's a high dropper, some of the heat apparently could cause some burping. But I thought I'd show you the pen. Not very expensive. You can play around with it, change the nibs. And if you have some patience, and you've got a big reservoir there. But again, when I saw that review this week, I figured I'd take my ASA Galactic out and show you. So there you have it. It's a revisit. Also would like to revisit my V800 just because of the ink that's in there, which is one of those Van Diemen inks. So this is the Asvine. Oh, it's just beautiful. And I wanted to see how it wrote on this paper. V800. This is the Blue Galaxy. And it has, of course, a number 8 steel stub. Quickly becoming one of my favorite pens. Just a beautiful writing instrument. And I'm glad I got this Blue Galaxy. It just, another V800 to my collection. You got to keep it open because it is one of those vacuum fillers that you can block off the nib section, especially when you travel. So if you forget to open it, then ink is not drawing into the nib. But very nice. And speaking of Van Diemen's inks, that one, by the way, was the ink that we did last week. Let me just show you. From Van Diemen's, which is this one here, Blue Ringed Octopus. So very, very nice ink. This one right there, it has kind of a red sheen to it, which is really nice. And we had put in this another Asvine, and again, I'm revisiting the ink more than the pen. In this instance, this is the Asvine V120. No, what is this? A V200? No, V126? Wow, I forget. No, it's the 200. Yeah. And it's got in, this is the demo version. It's a number 6 steel medium nib from Asvine. And the ink is the Van Diemen's Aurora Australis. You can see against the light, you can see that it's got kind of a purplish royal blue green sheen to it. So a really, really nice ink. And we'll show you some pens with the new ink in our next segment, where we'll visit some of the pens for next week. But I thought I'd show off the Van Diemen inks again, which is really nice. Then as I mentioned in the market news, and maybe we'll go to another page. We'll see if the page unglues here. Yeah, there you go. It may have an issue here. The pages tend to unglue. As I mentioned, that our friends at Magna Carta have come out with a new flex nib, the steel version of the flex nib. I have the Magna Carta Mag 600 with the gold 14 karat nib, and I thought I'd revisit the pen with you, given that it's now in the news. And I will recommend 2 videos on the new one, which appear to contradict each other. One is of the view that the 14K and the steel really, I think it's Doodlebud, say the same thing, or speak to him the same thing. There's not major difference. And while the other reviewer appears to see differences, I'm still curious. I'm not decided whether or not I will actually buy it, given that I have this one. But this is the Magna Carta, and I wanted to see how it performed on this paper. This is the Mag 600 with the 14K flex. And, you know, this is a huge wet flex, eh? I mean, if you know what you're doing with it, you can get some very fine and thick line variations on this nib. It's not as bad as I put it away for a while thinking that it's not a daily driver, but it's not that bad. If you're nice and light with it, you can write quite a bit with it, you know, and get, you know, a nice line. But if you know what you're doing in terms of, you know, in terms of line variation, it is a noodle. And look at it, it keeps up. Now, one of the issues I've had with this pen, in fact, am I getting, yeah, is that I've eyedroppered it in order to get it to feed the nib quicker. And it does have a tendency to leak on me. I don't know if it's leaking here, in which case I can quickly resolve it by putting some silicone. But I think it's leaking a little bit too much in the feed. There's just too much ink going in there. And I find that there's a lot of ink in the cap. I've had to clean it before I used it. So that's one of the issues. I might just empty it out, wash it out, and put back the converter, because it does come with a converter. But it was fun revisiting this pen. And you know what? We're going to have some fun with it during the week. And then I will let you know if I decide to actually get the steel. I'm curious. I want to make up my own mind, especially now that we have kind of contradictory views. But there will be more and more reviews as the pen comes out, and it should come out soon. Revisit my Rhodia. Let's just see if it writes. Okay, made in Japan. So this is wow, this is a really thin section. Some of you spoke about, you know, you like the thickness of the Rotring, what is it, the Rotring 600, now no longer available fountain pen, which is going for hundreds of dollars for some reason. It's much thicker, along with the pencil, because the barrel goes all the way down. But here you've got this very thin section, and not everybody would like that, in my view. Well, there you go. It's been a week or two. There's some script fountain pen. It's a broad. Made in Japan, by the way. Okay, well, you saw there was a heart start there. It's okay, but it's not flowing as nicely as it did, of course, upon immediate review. And it's been sitting there for now, a couple of weeks. So, you know, it's not great. It's not great, but it's not bad. But I think this is, and I did figure out there's a little quirk there. You need to kind of, you know, find the place, which I don't think is a good idea. I always feel like I'm, you know, straining the whole system. But having said that, it is a pretty pen. Okay. Also want to revisit my Diplomat Nexus. Heavy and slippery, folks. Man, if they could just do something about this section. The weight is okay for me. I like big, heavy pens. Diplomat. A little bit of hesitation right there, but I think it was me more than anybody, more than the pen. But again, weeks have gone by and the pen is still writing very nicely. Thank you very much. So that's the Nexus. And last, I've been featuring this pen for a couple of times now. Just I've fallen in love with this Vizier. I think they call it Checkmate 2.0, but it's all in aluminum, engraved with a really nice engraved nib. So this is the Vizier, and we just want to see if it's still writing. Not bad. It's getting drier as we go along. Not as wet as it was, but it's not bad. It's not bad. Let me just see if there's any ink in here. Maybe sometimes it's a question of the ink is no, you see it's full. So it is slowly but surely drying up on me. So this is the type of pen I think you need to use on a regular basis. Just leaving it there unused for weeks and weeks may not be the best thing for it. I don't know if it's something to do with the pen, or most of my Yowo nibs are that way. Actually, I can't say that, because the Yowo nibs in my Leonardo Officina Italiana pens, the new ones, not the old Momento Zeros, the smaller ones, but the Momento Zero 2.0 and the more recent Delta pens also perform very well. I have a Delta reservoir that is just wet all the time. So you can't really blame those Yowo nibs. It may be a combination of things. It's just, Yowo nibs sometimes come with pens that are not as expensive as some of the gold offerings, and you may have issues with the pen itself as opposed to the nib. So there you have my revisited for this week, folks. Quite a few pens, but I thought I'd show you what I've got. Let me just check my notes to make sure I covered everything that I wanted to cover with you. One thing I wanted to mention, no, I mentioned that already. Okay, good. So that's it for Pens Revisited. Stay tuned for my next segment. Be right back. Okay, so for my next segment, it's my pet weapons for next week. Now, again, I always try to inspire myself for my choices. I have always a theme or something that triggers the choices I have for the week. I'm planning to do a video on our Pelican pens. And I'm on the hunt. I'd like to get the whole series. In other words, the M200, 400, 600, 800, 1000. You'll see what I have in a minute. So I'm in the hunt for used, brand new. It's ridiculous. I mean, they're selling the M400 for like $600 Canadian. I mean, it's completely ludicrous. So you can see the price have gone up. I've participated in a couple of auction sites. Come close. But much cheaper than the 600 for sure. But, at the end, I kind of chickened out. The prices were going up and up and up and up. And don't forget, with the auction sites, they charge you percentage for their commission. And then they have these ridiculous prices for shipping. I mean, I remember once I got the pen for $80 and the shipping was $80. when I found out that the shipping was as much as the pen, I wrote back and I said, I'm not buying this. This is a scam. I mean, it doesn't cost $80 to deliver this pen to me, even if it comes from Europe to Canada. I mean, this is ridiculous. I complained. They said, well, it's not us. It's the seller that determines the... I say, I don't care. You're allowing this seller to scam you or to scam us on shipping costs. So you're just as responsible. Cancel the sale. I'm not interested. Well, cancellation may lead to you may not be able to, I say, I don't care. You want to ban me from your site? Ban me. But I'm not going to pay $80 for an $80 writing instrument. It's ridiculous. It's a scam. And the Consumer Protection Act, even of that country, protected me. You know what? They haven't banned me. Yes, they charged me a minimal fee, I think $4 or $5 for the administration, which is okay. I paid that, but I'm still there. Okay, but so be careful. Make sure you understand how much commission you're paying, what the percentage is. It varies. It can be 10%, 15, 20, and check out what they will charge you for shipping, especially on Katawiki. Ridiculous. I don't think you get anything less than $30, $40, which is already exaggerated. So some of these sellers, what they do is they make the money on the shipping, because I would be very curious to see a receipt that charges $80 for the shipment of a little pen. Okay, so having said that, I've been looking out for some of the missing links in my Pelican collection. So that kind of inspired me and said, well, you know what? Let me look at what I do have, show my viewers, and I'll put that in my weekly weapons casing. So why don't we go to my overhead camera? Here we go. So we've got the real stuff and the clones. First of all, I got this beautiful M1000 Grail pen, just an absolutely gorgeous pen. Writes every time. Talking about dry nib issues, there's no dry nib issue here. You pick it up and it writes. People have complained that it's kind of a gusher. It writes on its own, so difficult to control, but it's a great writing experience. This is my M800, and it's a beautiful pen. I bought this in Spain. In fact, during my Christmas holidays when I was there visiting Portugal and Spain, playing some golf with my son, and I finally decided to get my M8. I paid this 600 euros, so I overpaid for this, but at least I can say I bought it in a foreign country, so it's special for me, and don't have a broad nib, which would make it a little bit too gushy. This, I believe, is a medium, if I'm not mistaken. Where's it defined? Where is it? It's difficult to see. No, it's the fine. And it still writes really a wet writer, but we'll take a look at that in a second. I got my M200, which is this. It's a funny M200. This is kind of a highlighter. You can fill this up. It's so broad. I think it's like double or triple broad. You're supposed to use it as a highlighter. It came with kind of a yellow highlighter ink, but it's an M200. And then I've got some of the older. This is a I forget what this is. Is this the 140? I forget. Or it may be like an older version of the M200. I don't believe it has a gold nib. So that's it's just a vintage that I bought. It's broad, writes really nicely. And this is an old Pelican 140N. It's got kind of a flexi nib, 14 karat, I believe, or maybe even 18 karat. One of my, probably the least temperamental vintage pen that I own. Most of my vintage pens are they dry up, they leak, I'm not a vintage expert, but this one, no problem. It is a piston filler. It writes beautifully, so I'm really glad I got this. Got it at a really nice price. Then, of course, I got my AdMocs. These are my AdMoc M800s and the M400s. This M800 AdMoc actually does have a Pelican nib. You remember, if you follow my channel, I bought the nib separately on sale, and it fit perfectly in this pen. So with all intents and purposes, one of the things I want to do in that video is to kind of compare the real thing to the AdMoc and to see whether or not it is a comparable pen in all of its respects. Otherwise, the rest are really with this one has a Schmidt nib, another M800. One of these M400s have both flex nibs, little number 5 flex nibs. This one does as well. That's a fountain pen Revolution, and this one is a it's a Schmidt nib, but modified into a flex nib. So why don't we ink these beautiful pens up, maybe even with some of those inks, Van Diemen inks that introduced to you earlier, and we'll do some writing. I will be right back. Okay, so we're back with the weapons for next week. I've inked a couple with the new Van Diemen's ink. I've changed paper. Enough with that Fabriano. I want to have some fountain pen therapy, so I'm going to use my original Tomo River notebook here. First of all, I filled up this old M200, vintage M200, with that red, what is it, fire coral. So this is a Pelican. I believe it's an M200 vintage. It's got the Van Diemen's fire coral. Gorgeous red ink. There you have it, folks. Very, very nice. I got to tell you, that Fabriano paper is nice, but I'm not sure about it being a real contender. But verdict's still out. We're going to do more writing with it, and we'll make up our minds. This is the AdMoc M400, so this is the clone. By the way, one of the things I find really nice about this clone is that you can actually unscrew this section so you can clean your piston filler. It's much easier than the actual Pelican. I don't believe the Pelicans you can unscrew this section. I may be wrong, but this one you certainly can. So you can unscrew the nib, you can unscrew this piece here and clean it out really nicely. So this is the AdMoc M400. The nib is a fountain pen Revolution number 5 steel flex nib. And the ink is the Van Diemen's. A little scratchy, or some would say lots of feedback. This is the Van Diemen's Spotted Sun Orchid. I think with some of, if you know what you're doing in terms of flex nibs, it's got a good spring. Oh, I've railroaded it. I think I pushed it a little too much there. This ink is very, comes down very light in this pen. Okay, there you have the ADMOC M400, and the other ADMOC 400 is got the Schmidt nib number 5, but with a slit, so it's flexy. So this is the other ADMOC. Wow, okay. M400. A lot wetter than the other one, I can tell you. The nib is a number 5 steel Schmidt flex. Been modified by FP nibs. The ink is the Van Diemen's. There's a Royal Starfish. Whoop, I railroaded it. There you have it. So that's for the 3 inks. The rest of the pens are inked or were inked already, so you'll forgive me, I forget exactly what ink they have. This is the ADMOC 800, but with the original Pelican nib. So this is the, just go here. M800 Blue Galaxy, but the nib is a Pelican 18 karat, and it's a broad, so very wet. Forget what the ink is. Probably Iroshizuku Konpeki, but I'm not sure. Could also be Scribo, the Scribo turquoise ink. I forget the name, but there you have it. Very nice. Got, you know, it. But stay tuned for my video. I'll let you know whether or not it's even comparable to the real thing. This is the ADMOC. Oh, it's not writing. Does it have any ink? Give me a second. Okay, we're back. We just inked it up. In fact, I put in here the Van Diemen's Royal Starfish because of that green, kind of a green sheen. So this is the ADMOC M800. Just going to put green marble, for lack of a better word, or nib. The nib is a number 6 steel Schmidt, and it's a broad. And the ink, whoop, just a little, there may be some, didn't clean out the nib properly, so there was some crusted old ink there. I should have cleaned it out. Ink is the Van Diemen's. See, that's where it's giving me some railroading there. But it's not the nib. The nibs are, you know, good performers, generally speaking. Starfish. There we go. And then the more it dries, the more you will see the green sheen. So That's the... Okay, so those are the clones. Next. This is my little vintage. Hopefully it's inked. So this is a Pelican. Ah, such a beautiful little pen. This is a 140N, I believe they refer to it. It's got a 18 karat flex nib or flexi nib. Real lot of spring. Probably a fine, I would say to you. But, you know, that you could really get some line variation. It's got that nice scribing sound of that often vintage gold nibs have. Okay, so that's my 140N. Very nice pen. We'll do this highlighter right here. Let me get my pad. This pad is really, this pad here is good. So at the bottom, so I could write right to the end. Let me just push that up. Okay, so this is the Pelican M200. I'm going to call it the highlighter. I've never used it as a highlighter. It's got a, I believe that the M200 has a steel nib. Yeah, I don't see any indication of gold. I believe this is a Pelican number 5. Generally speaking, it's a double broad. Steel. These mats really work well, by the way, to kind of support you when you're at the bottom of a notebook that's quite thick. Works very well. I introduced them last week in last week's recap, and I've been using this pad quite a bit. Very nice. Good addition to my accessories. Okay, so let's, well, we've got the two champions left. So we'll start with my first champion. Again, some consider it as the ideal sized Grail pen. This is the Pelican M800, and it's in the red. The nib is a Pelican 18 karat fine nib, just beautiful writer. I don't know what the ink is. Very nice. It's fine. And la pièce de résistance, as they say in French, this is the uncontrollable gusher. The Pelican, yeah, I mean, I can't control the writing. It just goes by itself. 1000 and 1000. I'm just going to put green. The nib is a very springy Pelican, so soft and smooth, 18 karat. I think it's the broad. No, it's a medium, but it writes like a broad. That's correct. I mean, it writes like a broad, folks. I don't recall the ink. Usually I put in here Mont Blanc Irish Green, but it's coming out a little bit darker than usual, so I may have switched up this time around. Wow, that's a beautiful pen. Really, really nice pen. So there you have my my weapons for next week. Let me just put them all in order here so we can take a snapshot of it for my B-roll. So these are the real ones, as they say. This one here is a kind of semi-real. Oh, this is real as well. Quasi-real. And then we've got the clones. Regardless, I think we're going to have some fun next week with these pens. There you have it. Weapons for next week, folks. And I'm on the outlook. I'm looking out, I should say, for, as you can see, I'm missing a real M400 and I'm missing a real M600. Let's forget about the rest because there are other, special editions, 805s, 809, etc. I just want to get, at the very least, the base models. So I will have the entire M200, 400, 600, 800, and 1000. When I do, I'm set to do a video, and we're going to take them all in, compare them to the clones, and there are other clones, by the way, I think, or other pens that have been inspired by the M series of Pelican, and we can take a look at that eventually. I'm working on that video, but again, I need to get those pens. The sooner I get them, the quicker the video will be made. So there you have it for Weapons of next week. Stay tuned for the next segment. Be right back. Okay, so the next segment is YouTube reviews. Well, first of all, let's take a look at what I recommend for viewing from other reviewers. First of all, we have the two videos on the Magna Carta 600 or 650, but with most importantly with the flex steel nib. We have one from Doodlebud and one from Magna Carta who reviews the 650 Gold Spot exclusive. By the way, I just not an attractive looking pen. I understand that there was a green motif for St. Patrick's. By the way, happy St. Patrick's, belated St. Patrick's for those of you who celebrate. But man, they could have chosen a nicer green, nicer resin. Well, it is what it is. And then you have Wasted Paper that did a review of the actual Mag 600S. The 650 Gold Spot exclusive is kind of a limited or a special edition. And I gathered the Mag 600S will be the S for steel, will be the Mag 600 with the steel flex nib. Beautiful. Now that's a beautiful pen. And as I mentioned, they appear to have different views on how that steel flex nib performs. But if you're interested, those are the only two that I've seen so far. Like I mentioned, trying to look for them. I'm not sure when they will be up for grabs, and I'm still wondering whether I will get them. If I do, you'll be the first to see them. So that's the two reviews that I wanted to mention. Then there's Foodafan. Foodafan has come out with a new Zento, Uniball Zento signature. I mean, the previous versions came in silver. There's a beige version, a black version, which were very rare, very expensive. People are taking advantage. They buy them off and then they sell them on eBay for ridiculous prices. They're supposed to be sold at $35 and they're being sold for $100 plus. So they're hard to find as is, as I mentioned. But now you got this new one, which is just a beautiful limited edition. If anybody who's interested in taking a look at that, please do. And Foodafan is one of my favorite reviewers. He's always a lot of fun. He does his reviews really, really well. So shout out to him. And then I have my friend at Wonders Unlocked, who does who's doing a nib series. And the first one is on all his flex nibs. He shows you all the flex nibs he's got. So if you're interested in flex nibs, he's got quite a few there. He does some writing samples, which is always a lot of fun. Good therapy for all of us. Wonders Unlocked, that's my other review. So that's it in terms of other reviewers that I would recommend, or that I was particularly interested in. In terms of my own reviews, well, you saw I had my little short and a full review of the Ongdian pocket pens. If you haven't seen that, please do. If you're interested in pocket pens, or even if you're not interested in pocket pens, I guarantee you that you'll be interested in that titanium Hongdian M2, or even the brass one. Beautiful writing instruments, and in my video I show you exactly why. So there you have that. What's up for next week? I'm not quite sure. Here's all the candidates. I may actually, I promised you that Ebonite collection. I've got my new 757 ADMOC comparison that I want to video. I got my 5 top Hongdian pen video. I've got a review the OMAS, and I've got also the OMAS 360. Got to publish that one, and I've got my TWSBI Obsidian, which I've never gotten around to publish. Maybe I'll publish 2 next week. We shall see how things go. But that's it for me in terms of what the possibilities are, what's in the pipeline, as they say, in terms of publications and reviews. Not to mention whatever other pens have already come in and that I'm working on. So including one Italian Grail pen, which I promised that I would show you sometime soon. So there you have it, folks. That's completes this week's recap. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Comment, like, and encourage the channel. I've got to tell you, I've got to thank, now that I'm here, and I'd be amiss to thank several viewers sent me super chats, I think they call it, where some funds were transferred to me, which was very, very kind of you. You know who you are. That's one of the things that keep me going here, is producing a lot of content, and in order to produce that content, there's a lot of purchasing that goes on. I don't want to present to you, constant. Mind you, I have quite a bit, so it could keep me going for quite a while. I don't have 50 pens. As I mentioned often, I have, now over 600. So there's always something there that I can show you if I run out of anything. But, I want to try to be in tune with what's out there. So there's a lot of expenses that go into that. So if anybody sends you a super chat, there, of course it's welcomed. And I'd be missing out if I don't thank those people. I'm also considering membership. So stay tuned. I think I have a plan. I want to do maybe a survey to survey my subscribers, just to see what kind of content they would, first of all, whether or not membership could be something that could interest my viewers and also help the channel. And secondly, if so, what kind of content would be given to the members as a bonus. I don't want it to be like a bogus membership where you're paying me $4 or $5 a month and I'm not really giving you anything more than just normal subscribers. So I'm thinking of a plan. I'm thinking of something. I would like to have something where we can have more interaction. I would love to kind of sit around a table and meet all of you and we go through our pens. I mean, it would be fabulous. Maybe we should organize a trip somewhere where we can meet and have a meet and go out for dinner, and it'd be fabulous. I would love doing it. Maybe at a pen show. But having said that, there are other ways that maybe we can do a live. The live would be with membership, so it would be limited, so we could take the comments and actually deal with them, or a Q&A, special Q&A, or even a Discord exchange. Some people have suggested like Zoom meetings with a limited number of people. In any event, there's all kinds of ideas I'm working on, and eventually we'll get there. Thank you very much. Grazie molto. Have a great week. Enjoy your paper, your inks, and your writing instruments, and we'll see you sometime very soon. Ciao.